All right, Kenny Smith, the final installment in our communication series. Now, when we talk about radio, right, we're going to assume for a minute you've done all the legal paperwork you need to do or have accepted the consequences of not doing so. Now, one thing you can do with the ham radio is if you've got a buddy who's using MERS, legally you cannot transmit with a ham on a MERS because it uses a detachable antenna and has too much wattage. But it will you can legally listen to MERS. Now you take from that what you will. I'm not telling you to transmit on MERS. If anything, I'm telling you the opposite. But that is an option. Also, with a ham, you can use it as a scanner, which we talked about before. You can program to various frequencies. I usually keep fire and rescue of the area that I'm working with and the weather radio programmed into my ham radio because since I do not have a ham license, I cannot transmit on it at all legally. Um, so I just use it to monitor. Now, here's the thing with a ham radio or GMRS for that matter. In the event of an emergency, a bona fide emergency, you are legal to use that ham radio. Okay? No license is required in the event of an emergency. So it's a good thing to have around anyway because you've got like amateur radio relay leagues and stuff like that that monitor ham frequencies during a state of emergency in the event something like that comes up. So, but just if you don't have the license, do not transmit on it. That's just for legal reasons. Don't transmit on it if you don't have the FCC license. Your FRS and your license-free other like MERS and stuff like that, you do need to keep in mind the terrain you're in. Anytime you want to transmit, if you're reaching out, maybe in the sake of an emergency, you want to get to as high ground as possible. You also want as little concrete or brick between you and who you're talking to, because all that's going to do is dissipate the RF radiation, and concrete is shielding for radiation, and that radio frequency radiation is no different from that perspective than gamma radiation during a nuclear blast, right? That concrete is shielding, so it's going to try and keep that signal inside it because it's shielding. It's trying to keep it from getting outside, right? It don't know the difference. So you want to get as little concrete and brick as possible between you and who you're talking to, if you can. You also want to try and get on as high ground as you can because we've established radios are line of sight. All right, unless you're hitting a repeater somewhere and then the repeater's putting it out, it's still line of sight radio. The exception to this would be your satellite devices, which are, again, radio, but they've got line of sight to the satellite. All right, and this would be things like your Spot Messenger, which think of it as a satellite-based SMS system, or like your Iridium, your Inmarsats, your satellite phones. Think of them as a cell phone, but instead of talking to a tower, they're talking to a satellite. Same thing applies. As little concrete as possible and as much line of sight, you'll get a good signal. Social media here, in the bio and below.